We're all just swimming in information these days, aren't we? It's everywhere. But how do you actually, filter it? How do you get past the noise to find real understanding, especially about ourselves?
That's a timeless question, really. And it's why today we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating ancient text. It's called the Sabbāsavasaṃvarasuttaṃ. Bit of a mouthful, but it basically means the discourse on the elimination of all defilements.
Yeah, and when I first came across it, what struck me was that it's not just like abstract philosophy. It reads almost like a practical manual, doesn't it? A step-by-step guide for dealing with those mental burdens, the stuff that weighs us down.
Exactly. So our mission here is to unpack its core ideas. We want to look at what these āsavas, these defilements, actually are, and then explore the 7 specific ways the text says we can get rid of them. It's pretty amazing how a shift in attention, as this text suggests, can change so much.
Okay, so it's based on a core Buddhist text offering this really systematic way to clean up our mental space. Sounds incredibly relevant even now. So where does it start? You mentioned it kicks off with this idea that eliminating these āsavas begins with, well, just knowing and seeing. And there's a key distinction right at the start.
Yes, the absolute foundation is understanding the difference between what it calls right attention, yoniso manasikāra, and wrong attention, yoniso manasikāra. It all hinges on where you put your focus.
Okay, so what does wrong attention look like according to the text?
Well, it describes what it calls an uninstructed ordinary person. This is someone who gets tangled up in speculative thinking, constantly asking questions they can't really answer, about the past. Like, was I around before? What was I like? How did I get here? Or worrying about the future. What am I going to be? Will I even exist? That kind of thing.
And it's not just past and future, right? It's also about now, like second-guessing yourself in the present moment.
Absolutely. That constant doubt. Am I real? Am I not? What even am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? It's this mental whirlwind.
And the text says this whirlwind, this wrong attention, leads directly to 6 kinds of wrong views. What sort of views are we talking about?
They're basically all centered around a mistaken idea of a fixed, permanent self. Views like, I definitely have a self, or the opposite, I definitely don't have a self, or getting confused about perception, like, I perceive myself through myself, or I perceive not self through myself.
Sounds complex.
But the stickiest one, the text suggests, is believing in this permanent, unchanging me that just sails through life, experiencing good and bad stuff, totally stable and eternal. This idea that myself will just go on forever unchanged.
Wow. The text calls these views a thicket, a wilderness, a contortion, even a fetter. That's strong language. It's not just saying these are bad ideas, it's saying they actually bind us.
That's the crucial point. These aren't just intellectual errors. The text connects them directly to suffering, explicitly listing birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, despair. Our mental habits, this wrong attention, literally keeps us trapped in that cycle.
Okay, so that's the trap. How does right attention get us out?
Right. So it contrasts this with the well-instructed noble disciple. This person practices yoniso manasikāra wise consideration. They understand what's actually helpful to pay attention to and what's not.
And what is helpful to pay attention to?
Their focus shifts completely. Instead of those speculative questions, they apply their mind to the 4 noble truths. They contemplate. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering.
That's a huge shift. From me and my story to the fundamental nature of experience itself. And what happens when you make that shift? What breaks?
The direct result of this clear seeing, this insight, is that 3 specific fetters just fall away. These are, first, the personality view, sakkaya, that core belief in a fixed self. Second, doubt, uncertainty about the path itself. And third, clinging to rites and rituals, the idea that just performing rituals will save you.
So these are the first defilements, the first āsavas, eliminated just by seeing clearly. That's powerful. Insight alone starts dismantling the structure.
Exactly. It's the initial breakthrough.
Okay, so if seeing tackles the conceptual traps, what's next? The second method seems to move towards our interaction with the world. Āsavas, eliminated by restraint. Saṃvarā paṭisevanā. This is about the senses.
Precisely. It focuses on wisely restraining our 6 sense faculties. The eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind itself, which it treats as a sense door too.
Restraining them how? Like shutting them down?
Not shutting them down, but managing them wisely. The text warns that if you leave these senses completely unguarded, just letting anything flood in and reacting automatically, then these Āsavas leading to vexation and feverishness are bound to pop up.
Vexation and feverishness, like getting agitated, maybe stressed out, restless.
Yeah, that feeling you get after being bombarded with stimuli or getting hooked by something you see or hear, that inner turmoil. But if you practice wise restraint, consciously guarding those sense doors, the text says those particular defilements just don't arise.
So it's like being a mindful gatekeeper for your own mind. Okay, that makes sense. What's the third way then? Āsavas eliminated by proper use, paṭisevanā payataba.
Right. This one brings mindfulness right into everyday life, into how we use basic necessities. The core idea is to use things like clothes, food, lodging, and medicine wisely for their actual purpose, not for, indulgence or ego boosting.
Can you give some examples from the text? It's pretty specific, isn't it?
Very specific. For robes, it says they're to ward off cold, heat, insects, wind, sun, reptiles, and simply to cover nakedness, not for fashion or status.
Okay. And food.
Alms food is explicitly not for play, indulgence, purification, or adornment. So not for fun, not to get high on taste, not to make yourself look good.
So what is it for?
The purpose is stated very clearly. For the body's support, sustenance, ending harm, supporting the holy life. It's functional. And interestingly, to destroy old feelings of hunger and not create new ones of craving, for blamelessness and comfortable dwelling. It's about sustenance for practice, not creating more craving.
That's a radically different way of thinking about eating. And it applies to lodging and medicine too.
Yes. Lodging is for protection from the elements and dangers, and importantly for seclusion, to support practice. Medicine is simply to ward off arisen bodily pains and extreme afflictions, just dealing with what's necessary.
The principle seems clear. Use things appropriately, with wise consideration, and defilements don't arise. Use them carelessly, for ego or pleasure, and they do. It's mindfulness in action.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into the fourth method. Āsavas eliminated by endurance, adhivāsanā pātaba.
Endurance. Okay, this sounds tough. What are we supposed to endure?
Well, the list is quite comprehensive. It includes cold, heat, hunger, thirst, also insect bites, wind, sun, reptiles, things we definitely encounter.
Physical discomforts. What else?
It also includes ill-spoken words, criticism, insults, and even severe physical pains, described as painful, sharp, severe, harsh, disagreeable, displeasing, life-threatening.
Wow, okay, so not just minor annoyances. How does enduring them help?
The mechanism is simple. If you don't patiently endure these things, if you react with aversion, anger, or despair, then āsavas defilements arise from that reaction. But if you practice wise endurance, facing them with a certain equanimity, those defilements don't get a chance to sprout. It builds resilience.
So it's about managing your reaction to unavoidable difficulties. Okay. The number 5 is āsavas eliminated by avoidance, parivajjanā. This sounds like the opposite of endurance.
In a way, it's about proactive wisdom, wisely avoiding situations, places, or even people that are likely to cause harm or stir up defilements. It's preventative.
What kind of dangers does it mention?
It lists some pretty obvious physical dangers. Fierce elephants, horses, bulls, dogs, snakes. Also dangerous places like tree stumps, thorn patches, pits, precipices, cesspools, open sewers. Basically stay away from things that can hurt you physically.
Makes sense. But there's more to it, isn't there? Something about social avoidance?
Yes, and this is really interesting. It specifically includes avoiding unwholesome sitting places, unwholesome resorts, like maybe places you go for alms where the influence isn't good, and crucially, unwholesome friends.
Unwholesome friends? How is that defined?
It adds a condition. If associating with them would lead wise fellow practitioners to reasonably fault you. It highlights this social dimension, recognizing that who you associate with and the environments you frequent directly impact your mind.
That's a really practical point. So avoid danger, physical and social, and the related defilements won't arise. Don't avoid them, and they likely will.
Exactly. It's about being smart about where you put yourself.
Okay, so we've seen seeing, restraint, proper use, endurance, and avoidance. What's the 6th method? Āsavas eliminated by elimination or dispelling, vinodanā pahataba. Sounds active.
It is very active. This is about dealing with unwholesome thoughts right when they appear in the mind. The instruction is not to tolerate them.
Not tolerate them. What do?
You actively abandon, dispel, make an end of, cause to disappear them. Specifically, it mentions thoughts of sensual desire, ill will, and harm, but it also adds, or any other arisen evil, unwholesome states.
So you catch them and zap them, like mental weeding.
It's a good analogy. It's an ongoing vigilant process. If you just let those thoughts linger and grow, āsavas arise. If you actively, wisely dispel them the moment you notice them, they don't take root.
Constant vigilance. Okay, that leads us to the seventh and final method. Āsavas eliminated by development or meditation, bhāvanā paṭisevanā.
Yes. This shifts from removing the negative to actively cultivating the positive. Specifically, it focuses on developing the saddhabocchāga, the 7 factors of awakening.
Ah, right. These are key concepts. Can you remind us what they are?
Sure, they are. Mindfulness, sati, investigation of phenomena, dhammavikkaya, energy or effort, virya, rapture or joy, piti, tranquility or calm, passaddhi, concentration, samadhi, and equanimity, upekkha.
So it's about intentionally building these positive mental qualities.
Exactly. Cultivating them like skills or strengthening them like muscles. But there's a crucial condition mentioned.
Oh, what's that?
The text stresses that these factors should be developed dependent on seclusion, dependent on dispassion, dependent on cessation, maturing and release. It's not just about feeling good. It's about developing these qualities in a way that leads away from clinging and towards liberation. The context matters.
I see. So cultivate these factors with the right intention, aiming for release, and āsavas don't arise. Neglect them or cultivate them for the wrong reasons, and āsavas continue.
Precisely. And that completes the 7 methods.
So looking back, these 7 ways, seeing, restraint, proper use, endurance, avoidance, dispelling, and development, they're not really separate boxes, are they? They seem deeply interconnected.
Absolutely not separate. They form a complete integrated path. Each one supports the others. When someone diligently practices all 7, the text says they achieve this profound mental purification. It's a holistic approach.
And the final result described is quite something. One restrained with the restraint of all āsavas. Someone who has cut off craving, undone the fetters, and by the right understanding of conceit have made an end of suffering. That sounds like total freedom.
That's the goal, the promise laid out in the text. Complete liberation from those mental defilements that cause so much distress. And underlying it all, threading through every single method, is that idea of yoniso manasikāra.
Wise consideration. It really is the key, isn't it? Applying that discerning awareness to everything, how we see, how we act, what we use, what we endure, avoid, think, and cultivate.
That's the heart of it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. Which of these 7 methods really jumps out at you right now? Is there a particular area, maybe restraining your scrolling, using things more mindfully, enduring discomfort a bit more patiently, avoiding certain triggers, catching negative thoughts, or cultivating calm where applying just a bit more of that wise consideration could make a difference in your own life? How could a small shift in attention start untangling that thicket of views for you?